outward, like being mindful of where this is and where this person is sitting and aware of the weather and whether it's going to rain or not. But in terms of samasati, or what the Buddha was encouraging, was an awareness that comes from the very center, from this awareness that includes the totality, which includes our own feelings, physical body, and the objects that we experience through the senses. So it's an all-inclusive awareness. It's not particularly aimed at one thing and just being aware of some external thing, or identifying with awareness as some kind of personal quality, or maybe we think we're not aware enough. And people say, I'm not terribly mindful, but I try to practice mindfulness. You hear that all the time. I'm trying to be mindful, trying to become mindful, and I have mindfulness practices. So these are the word that we use for sati, but then in terms of how the Buddha means it, is to not try to become somebody who's aware, but to be awareness itself in the present. So that's like awakening consciousness here and now. It's immediate, and it includes. It's not excluding anything. So that includes both what we see, hear, smell, taste, touch, think and feel, emotional feelings that one is having, personal views, opinions, or memories, or attitudes are like this. Now, the sati and panya, then this leads to discernment, to see Dhamma rather than in seeing a conditioned attitude or positioning on the conditioned realm. So in sati and sampajanya, awareness, mindfulness, apperception, ability that each one of us has to open to the totality of this moment, in which it's not a thought, it's not a perception, but it is recognizable. It's like this. So then that is consciousness. We're suddenly recognizing consciousness itself, which is something, is that which is ordinary and that we're experiencing all the time. But when we're always perceiving ourselves through conditioning, then we don't recognize consciousness. We're merely using consciousness and projecting into it our own sense of self and conditioned attitudes, emotional habits, identities. So the actual word Buddha means like awaken, and it's like a wake-up teaching. Somebody asked me one time, could you describe Buddhism in one sentence? And I said, I can do it in one word. They said, what's that? I said, wake up. So this isn't about me waking up, but it's an invitation to pay attention, to be open, receptive, here and now, in which the sense of your thinking process, ego, cultural assumptions, the thought process itself are received. So it's not about getting rid of desire or getting rid of yourself, but not limiting yourself to the language, to the thoughts, to the memories, the identities that we tend to do when we're not fully awake. So taking refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha is on a practical level, functional level, is this waking up. Well, consider that we're very attached to thinking, as we want to figure everything out. We come from a society, a culture that has developed the thinking process, so we can, think in rational terms with logic. We can analyze. We can manipulate the conditioned world. We have Western science, psychology, all these ways of thinking and perceiving through concepts that we've developed, and then we see ourselves through this same conditioned habit of thinking. So in mindfulness, then we're even getting outside our own thinking process. And that was one of the great challenges I found, because even though I understood that, to be able to actually let go of thinking, well, at first, I couldn't figure it out because I was thinking about it. I think, how do you let go of thinking? I know I should let go of thinking, and yet, how do you do it? And then you kind of wind yourself up trying to figure out how to stop thinking. Now, thinking is not something to be despised or rejected, but it is attachment to thinking always leads to division. The thinking process is a critical function, and that's its purpose, to compare, analyze, criticize, say this is bigger than that, this is white, this is blue, this is green. So we discriminate, and we have what we like and don't like, what should be and what shouldn't be, right and wrong, good and bad. And so then we apply this to meditation. How many of you practice meditation with the assumption of yourself, I am unenlightened person who is come here to practice meditation in order to become enlightened in the future? And at the retreat at Spirit Rock, I kept throwing this at the retreatants, because I've noticed over the years in teaching how some people never get outside this thing that I'm unenlightened person who still has to get my samadhi, get insight, get all kinds of other things in order to become enlightened, or hopefully to get some insight in the future. So this is all based on Sakya Ditti, or the ego, or the self-view, personality view, and the grasping of Buddhism, not Dhamma, Buddhism, from the Sakya Ditti, from the self-perception, which is based on time. When I think of myself, then I think, well, I am Ajahn Sumedho, and then I can recite my history, my biography. I was born 74 years ago in Seattle. That's Sakya Ditti, isn't it? Or that's just conventional reality. Use it in terms of the cultural conventions. But if I really believe that and never question it, I am this person, I was born at such and such a time, and I've done this and that, and never question it, not to dismiss it, but to be able to see that this is the thinking process. And when I attach to this assumption, I am this unenlightened person who's here to practice in order to become, if I never challenge that perception, then I can spend the rest of my life with this blinding me to awakened consciousness. So that it's not the others. I am enlightened. I'm pure already. I don't need to practice. Is still the same problem. because it's all attachment to the sense of I am somebody who's already enlightened, or I am somebody who is not yet enlightened. Well, now you're probably thinking, well, what am I supposed to do? Because it leaves you with really nothing. So that we can start from that position. That's how we all start. That's how I start anyway. I'm a confused person, and I don't know what to do with my life, and I'm unhappy, and I want to do something in order to find some kind of relief from the suffering. So going to Thailand and practicing meditation, becoming a monk, it was all done with this. I need to do this in order to become something. So it's not to disparage that, but to point to it. And I found various ways of like if you just try to figure this out, it doesn't work. You have to really look at yourself thinking. And in order to see yourself thinking, you have to deliberately think, intentionally think, I am this unenlightened person sitting here practicing in order to become. So it's as simple as that. There's an awareness of this assumption. And I'm intentionally thinking this, but at the same moment aware of it. And this awareness is not a thought. And after a while, if you keep pursuing this, you begin to see very clearly that the thinking process is one thing, but consciousness and with awareness is not thinking. It doesn't exclude thinking, but it includes it, but it's not attached to thinking. So in this way, the Buddha pointed out that the real problem lies in ignorance and attachment to condition. It's not conditioned phenomena that's the problem. It's not desire. It's not the body. It's not the senses. It's the ignorance, not knowing this simple reality, and an attachment we have, the kind of blind way we commit ourselves to our sense of self, to the unquestioned attitudes we have about cultural ideals or cultural assumptions, and then the strong obsessive attachment to the thinking process, trying to figure everything out, trying to figure Buddhism out, Dhamma, and you see in the Buddhist world here in California, there's so many opinions and views circulating around Mahayana, Vajrayana, Hinayana, Zen, Nichiren, modern variations, American Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, and on like this. So that there's, here there's a free range of anything goes, and Buddhism, we form views, whatever group or convention that we particularly incline to, or feel, or happen to encounter first, or influenced by, we tend to attach to that convention. Now that's fine, because it's certainly I attach to the Theravada, Thai forest tradition, but at the same time, Ajahn Chah was awakening, saying, wake up and see the attachment. The sense of I am this, and the way that I would attach to the convention of Theravada, Theravada views and opinions, Thai Buddhism, Thai forest, Ajahn Mun tradition, all this being attached to it, it still limits you. So the aim then is not to become a Theravadan Buddhist or a forest bhikkhu, but to use these conventions for awakening. Now, it's not liberating just to become a Buddhist and just condition yourself with Buddhist ideas and Buddhist prejudices and attitudes, or take sides. You might be attaching to something very good, but there's still the suffering. It will not awaken you till you dare to question, to observe. Not to question in the sense of trying to figure out, but taking that step from attachment to non-attachment, which is what awareness really amounts to. So this sense of awakened consciousness, which when there is this, then we realize Dhamma. We recognize the conditions in terms of Dhamma. We discern all conditions are impermanent. It's not attaching to a view that all conditions are impermanent. We actually know this. We discern it. And then we also discern the unconditioned. We recognize Nibbana, Anatta, Shunyata, Nirodha. These are the words, or the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. So this is recognizable. And in the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, I've used this teaching now for all of my monastic life, and putting it to the test as as I get older and conditions change, so that whatever happens, whatever experiences, success or failure, praise or blame, prosperity or poverty, the aim is not to be able to learn from both sides of the worldly conditions. So that applies to one's life, ordinary life, in terms of living as a Buddhist monk and the changes that occur internally, externally, because you get praise and you get blamed and you have successes and failures, and it's just like anyone else. This is not an easy ride, monastic life. But it is, if used properly, then it is it's a form that helps, that encourages awareness. It's not for attachment, but for awakening. So how to use this convention for awakening, rather than for attachment? Become a Theravadan Buddhist, or become a Bhikkhu or Bhikkhuni or something like this, or awaken to Dhamma. And mindfulness in this way is non-critical, it's non-divisive. Mindfulness then includes everything. It embraces the totality, both the good and the bad, the praise and the blame, happiness, suffering, and the whole lot. So where the critical mind will pick and choose. It wants happiness, doesn't want suffering, wants to be praised and respected and appreciated, doesn't want to be blamed and despised, and wants to be successful, not a failure. So in this way, the worldly dhammas, they're formed out of thinking, and again I reiterate that statement that thinking its function is to divide. It's dualistic. If you have success, then there's failure, happiness, suffering, heaven, hell, right, wrong. And that's why when we just attach, when we try to figure everything out with the thinking process, it only takes us so far.